What if I told you that Hera isn't actually bad? That she was, in truth, one of the most loyal and burdened goddesses ever to walk the halls of Olympus? What would you say? Pause for a moment. Let that idea settle. Because the story you've been told your whole life is about to flip itself upside down. For centuries, people painted Hera as the root of cruelty, jealous, unforgiving, furious. But the truth runs deeper and darker than the stories ever dared to show. Evil is not always born from a corrupted heart. Sometimes it is a shield, raised to protect the world against someone else's recklessness. And that shield had a name: Hera. In this story, she is not the villain. The villain is the chaos she had no choice but to fight. And that chaos had a name too: Zeus. Imagine a king with limitless strength and almost no discipline. A god who played with mortal lives as if they were toys. Who shaped love stories and shattered destinies with no sense of consequence. And then left the aftermath for others to fix. Two beings carried the burden of that chaos: Hera and Heracles. One was the goddess responsible for holding the balance of the cosmos. The other was living proof of Zeus's impulses. A child born from a broken divine boundary. If you're looking for a villain, you're knocking at the wrong door. It was never Hera. It was never Heracles. The true fault lay with the power even gods could not restrain. Today, for the first time, the truth behind the myth is revealed. Why did Hera harden? Why did Heracles suffer? And why do all paths, no matter where you look, lead back to Zeus? The truth begins now. Hera was not evil, but she had to look evil. Every wound Zeus opened didn't just scar her heart. It shook the balance of the universe. Every time he touched a mortal, every time he fell into another forbidden love, every time he whispered another lie, the weight of those choices fell on Hera like a collapsing sky. She was always the one left to rebuild what he broke. That is why she hardened. That is why she became the feared queen. Because she understood one truth more clearly than anyone else. If no one protects the order, chaos will consume us all. And destroying Zeus was never an option. If a king fell, the heavens would split, the gods would fracture, the cosmos would tear apart at its seams. Hera knew this, so she didn't strike him. She didn't kill him, but she couldn't simply forgive him either. Instead, she chose another path. She wielded cruelty not as a weapon, but as a shield. Not to harm, but to protect the universe he endangered. Outwardly, she looked merciless. Inwardly, the truth was different. Hera was hardened not by hatred, but by responsibility. And that responsibility became unbearable on the night Heracles was born. Zeus's betrayal that night wasn't merely an indiscretion. He broke a divine boundary. He tore open the border between god and mortal. He didn't create an unwanted child. He created a crack in the order of existence. Heracles was innocent. He carried no malicious intent, no sin, no guilt. But the moment he opened his eyes, his existence whispered a chilling truth. I am the price of Zeus's chaos. The gods trembled at the implications, not because of the infant himself, but because of what he represented. Two fears ruled Olympus: his power and the example he set. If a demigod grew strong enough to rival a god, others would attempt the same. Boundaries would crumble, order would collapse, and Hera saw the danger instantly. Zeus has thrown us all into fire. If I do nothing, this child will grow without guidance, and his power may become chaos. But if I abandon him entirely, that chaos will rise even faster. Heracles was not evil. He was not an enemy. He was simply a dangerous spark born into the wrong world at the wrong time. When Hera looked at him, she didn't see hatred. She saw the shadow of a future that could burn the heavens. So she didn't attack. She acted with caution. The Night of the Serpents, retold as Hera's rage, was not an attempt to kill a baby. It was a test. No revenge, no malice. A test designed to reveal one truth. Could this power be contained? The serpent slithered toward the cradle. The air thickened, and before Heracles knew how to speak, he crushed the monsters with his bare hands. There was no jealousy in Hera's heart at that moment. Only certainty. This child does not carry an ordinary fate. His power must be shaped, or it will destroy us all. No one died that night, but something became undeniable. Heracles was not just a baby. He was a trial sent to reshape the cosmos, and Hera could not run from that trial. People love to say Hera cursed Heracles with madness out of spite, but that version ignores the truth entirely. The madness wasn't punishment. It wasn't jealousy. It was a mirror, a test to determine whether Heracles could face the one force more dangerous than any monster, his own unrestrained potential. The world bent in his vision. Illusions swallowed reality. Shadow and truth intertwined. And in that storm of confusion, Heracles committed the greatest grief of his life. He lost those he loved most. Not because Hera wanted revenge, but because she needed him to understand a truth that weapons couldn't teach. Power carries consequences, even divine power, especially divine power. From that tragedy came 3 lessons: pain, regret, and grief. These emotions shaped him deeper than any battle could. He rose from those ashes transformed. Not just strong, but aware. Only then was he ready for the 12 labors. People call them punishments. They were nothing of the sort. They were a reconstruction, a rebuilding of a fractured soul. Each task was a mirror. The Nemean lion taught control. The Hydra taught strategy. The Ceryneian hind taught restraint. The Erymanthian bull taught courage and fear. The Argean stables taught creativity. The Stymphalian birds taught precision. The Cretan bull taught the danger of inner chaos. The mares of Diomedes taught justice. Hippolyta's belt taught the cost of misunderstanding. Gerion's cattle taught endurance. The golden apples taught wisdom and diplomacy. Kerberos taught him to face death with will alone. Each labor carved him deeper, and Hera watched, not as an enemy, but as a guardian of a world her king kept destabilizing. Their conflict was never hatred. It was necessity, duty, pain. Heracles carried guilt for a life he didn't choose. Hera carried fear for a balance she alone protected. Both suffered due to Zeus. Heracles tried to repair the cracks Zeus created. Hera tried to prevent those cracks from widening. From the outside, it looked like a war. But in truth, it was 2 wounded souls trying to prevent different disasters. Hera did not hinder Heracles to stop him. She slowed him down because his power grew too fast. Fast enough to shake the pillars of the heavens. A demigod stronger than a god is not simply a warrior. He is a threat to the cosmic balance, not intentionally, but because existence bends around power. So Hera placed storms in his path, monsters in his way, calamities before his feet. Not to crush him, but to control the pace of his rise. She wasn't attacking him. She was guiding him the only way she knew how. Heracles didn't understand it. How could he? All he saw was a world fighting him. He felt the universe resisting every step. But Hera's intention was never destruction. It was protection. For him, for Olympus, for everything Zeus had weakened. Heracles was innocent. a child punished for a crime committed by another. Hera was exhausted. A queen forced to carry a burden that wasn't hers. Both burned by the same fire, Zeus's carelessness. And when the 12 labors ended, something changed. For the first time, Hera looked at Heracles, not as a threat, but as a force shaped by suffering into responsibility. He had become what she needed him to be: balanced, disciplined, aware. She didn't apologize. She didn't embrace him. But the armor she wore cracked for a moment. Not out of weakness, but out of relief. Heracles was no longer Zeus's mistake. He was a protector, a stabilizer, a future god. The battle between them ended, not with forgiveness, but with truth. If you have followed the story from the beginning, you'll likely see it clearly now. Hera was never evil. Heracles was never evil. The only true evil was the chaos Zeus left behind. He held the throne. He had the power. But he refused the responsibility. Hera carried it. Heracles suffered for it. And both were scarred by a god who started fires and left others to extinguish them. One tried to keep the world from falling apart. The other tried to keep himself from falling apart. Both succeeded. Both endured. Both changed Olympus forever. And when all false tales fade, only one truth remains. Hera was not the villain. Heracles was not the villain. The only villain was Zeus's chaos.